Welcome back to another lecture of Dental Pathshala, where we help you understand and learn dentistry better and easy. And this video is a continuation of the Express Revision course for periodontics. You can watch more interesting videos like this in the playlist. You can check out the other videos, and also I have provided a link in the description box below for the notes of this particular video, and also you can check out more interesting notes on our website www.decx2.com. So guys, let's get started with the today's part. And today we'll be talking about the pattern of the bone loss and trauma from occlusion. And before we get started, make sure you subscribe on the channel and hit on the bell icon so that you don't miss any of our future videos. So guys, talking about, previous part we have covered the pocket. Now that we know how the bacteria invades into the gingiva and causes the disease, destroy the periodontium. So what happens, we'll be talking about again. So guys, what happens when the bacteria comes? So suppose this is a bacteria. Now what happens when the bacteria comes and forms the plaque? So everything starts with a plaque formation. So then the inflammation process starts. So this inflammation process continued by releasing the MMPs. Then there are collagenases that we have covered due to the fibroblast, collagenase and fibroblast. So all these, everything, and collagenases enzyme. So everything is going to destroy the collagen. So basically what happens is there is destruction of the collagen in a mass scale. So all the collagen fibers, they get destroyed. Now the leukocytes, they come into the connective tissue. So leukocyte concentration in the marginal periodontium. Now what happens, these leukocytes, inflammatory cells, they reaches the bone, causing the crystal resorption or loss of attachment. How this happens? It goes interproximally. Via the blood vessels through the collagen fibers. Now that means the inflammatory cells are going into the bone. So going into the bone via the blood vessels. What is going? The leukocytes, and causes the inflammation. So that means when the inflammatory cells reaches the bone, it spread in the marrow space, that is the bone, and it replaces the marrow, the bone marrow, that means the marrow of the bone replaces the marrow with the leukocytes and the fibroblast and the exudate. How this happens is, and the exudate. So how this happens is, happens via rank-rankle mechanism. We have already talked about the rank-rankle mechanism. What happens in rank-rankle mechanism, guys? The monocyte, they convert, they actually convert, they get converted under the influence of the interleukin as well as tumor necrotic factor alpha. So interleukin 1 and tumor necrotic factor alpha, they combine with the osteoblast to form the osteoclast. And this osteoclast resorbs the bone. Resorption of the bone. So there is a thinning of the bony trabeculae because of the osteoclastic activity. and there is enlargement of the marrow spaces followed by the destruction of the bone. So more bone get destroyed and there is decrease in the bone height. So guys, this is the whole pathogenesis, we can say, of the pattern of the bone loss. This is how the bone loss happens. So these bacteria, they form the plaque. So there are two different kind of bacteria. For gingivitis, let's write it from the other color. So for gingivitis, there are rods and cocci, and for periodontitis, there are spirochetes, right, and other gram negative bacteria. So again, inflammation process is again, inflammatory cells are different. For periodontitis, these are the plasma cells, or we can say advanced stages of the gingivitis, we also see the plasma cells. See, the stages of gingivitis we have already covered. The first stage, which is the initial stage, right? So in the initial stages of the gingivitis, we see the fibroblast. So initial stages of the gingivitis, we see the fibroblasts and the lymphocytes. And the lymphocytes. So this is the whole pattern of the bone formation, bone loss. Now guys, we understand that how this bacteria, it causes the destruction of the bone, resorption of the bone, loss of the bone. Now how much bone loss is there? That means when the bacteria comes into the bone, how much destruction this bacteria causes. So guys, suppose this is the bone, for example. Okay, let's take the different color, guys. So this is the bone, suppose, and when the bacteria comes and invades the tissue, bone marrow, bone space, you can say marrow space. So when the bacteria comes, it causes destruction in the bone in the area of, we can say, 1.5 to 2.5 millimeter around the bacteria. So the destruction caused by the bacteria is up to 1.5 to 2.5 millimeter. So now we can take this. This is the destruction by the bacteria. And this destruction is, guys, 1.5 to 2.5 millimeter. This is what do we call the radius of action. That means this is the action of the bacteria. And beyond 2.5, we say, that means up till 2.5 millimeter, the bacteria is going to cause destruction. So bacteria needs to be in close proximity to the bone up to 1.5 to 2.5 millimeter if the bacteria is causing the bone destruction, and beyond 2.5 millimeter there is no effect of bacteria on the bone. So this was given by the Page and Schroeder. So range of effectiveness of the bacteria is about 1.5 to 2.5 millimeter, in which the bacteria can cause the bone loss. So this is very important, guys. You have to remember it. So this is what do we call the radius of action. So what's the significance of this? So if there is area, or we can say space, wider than 2.5 millimeter, that means there are going to be interproximal angular defect. That means it has got space to spread, right? So the angular defect we see. If the spaces are narrow, then it would end up with a horizontal bone loss. So, if in case of a narrow space, there is going to be a horizontal bone loss. Now guys, we'll talk about the rate of the bone loss. How much the bone loss occur over the period of time. So, according to Lowy, he conducted a study on the tea laborers in Sri Lanka. So, there was no treatment. So, these are all the untreated case. No treatment given to these laborers or the workers. So, we say that average bone loss. So, average rate of bone loss for the facial surface is different, for the proximal surface is different. So, for the facial surfaces, that is the buccal surface we can say, so that is 0.2 millimeter per year. This is if the case is not treated. And for interproximal surfaces, or you can say for the proximal surfaces, the bone loss is 0.3 millimeters per year. So, this is the rate of the bone loss according to Lowy, a study conducted on the tea laborers in the Sri Lanka. Now guys, talking about exostosis. So, exostosis are the growth of the bone. So, we can say overgrowth of the bone. Why this happens is due to the imbalance between the, so this is growth of the bone, that means the normal, this is more than the normal growth of the bone. So, when this abnormal bone growth happens, when there is a imbalance between the bone resorption and the deposition, that means when the remodeling of the bone is impaired and due to the result of the inflammation. So, in case of chronic inflammation, when we say that due to chronic inflammation, if there is a impaired remodeling process, this result in the overgrowth of the bone. And in the human skulls, we see 40% of the time there is growth, bony growth or bony exostosis present in the palate. So, we call it the palatal exostosis. So, this is 40%, we see that there are growth present in the palate. So, guys, exostosis is when there is an imbalance due to the inflammation, right? Because of the chronic inflammation, there is overgrowth of bone. What happens when there is overgrowth of the bone, we can say, due to the heavy occlusal forces. So, in response to heavy occlusal forces, we have something known as the buttress bone formation. Buttress bone formation. So, this is the thickening of the bone, we can say, thickening of the bone, or you can say directly exotic bone, exostotic bone, exostosis, right? So, exostotic bone present on the buccal side. So, buccal alveolar bone due to the heavy occlusal loads. We call it the buttress bone formation. Now, this can be again of two types. So, it can be either central buttressing or can be peripheral buttressing. Peripheral buttressing. So, central buttressing bone is when there is a thickening of the bone within the marrow cavity, that means within the jaw. So, within the jaw when there is a thickening, we call it the central buttressing. When the buttressing or we can say the thickening of the alveolar bone is present on the external surface. So, when the thickening is present on the external surface, we call it the peripheral buttressing. So if it occurs within the jaw, we call it the central buttressing bone. If it occurs on the external surface, we call it the peripheral buttressing bone formation. Guys, this is basically a compensating mechanism. So the bone formation occurs in attempt to buttress a bony trabeculae which is weakened by the resorption. So for that, there is a compensatory mechanism, which is, we call it the buttress bone formation. So central is when it occurs within the jaw, peripheral is when it occurs on the external surface of the bone, and it may lead to the bulging of the bony contour. So it causes the bulging of the bony contour. We call it lipping. So this is what we call lipping, and this can lead to the formation of the osseous craters and any angular defects. So guys, remember this, that buttressing bone formation is a compensating mechanism, unlike exostosis, which is pathological. Compensating mechanism of the bone. Next one, guys, we will be talking about the reversed architecture. Reversed architecture. So for that, we should understand what is the normal architecture of the bone loss. So the normal architecture of bone loss is something like this. Suppose these are the teeth. Now the normal bone loss occur like this on the buccal and the facial surfaces. So like that. This is the normal bone loss, which is at the buccal surfaces, you can see. And if we talk about reverse architecture, that means the architecture is not same. So the reverse architecture, we will find that there is a bone loss in the interdental area. So the reverse architecture, guys, will be like this. Interdental, there is going to be bone loss, not in the buccal and facial surfaces. So like this. This is the reverse architecture. And this reverse architecture is, that is the loss of the interdental bone. Interdental bone. That means interdental bone becomes apical to the facial or the lingual surfaces, and this is more commonly seen in the maxillary bone loss. Especially we see craters like this. So we see when there is an interdental bone loss, we also see the craters. Now guys, talking about the ledges. So next thing we have is the ledges. So ledges are the resorption of the thick bony plates, thick bone, resorption of the thick bone. So because of the resorption of the thick bony plates, we see plateau-like margins. So plateau-like margins, very important term, guys. So plateau-like margins are our plateau-like bony margins are the ledges. Remember, this ledges are the plateau-like margins. So guys, this can be due to again the trauma from occlusion or plaque or calculus. And ledges, when ledges are formed, when plateau-like bony margins are formed, this can lead to the vertical bone loss. And we know that vertical bone loss is difficult to maintain. Therefore, it is difficult to maintain the furcation in case of ledges. Guys, next we will be talking about what is a horizontal bone loss and what is a vertical bone loss. So a horizontal bone loss, when the bone loss is horizontal, very easy. So suppose now here suppose this was the level of the bone earlier. Now what happens? The level of the bone is shifted down. So there is a loss of the bone present horizontally like this. So this is a horizontal bone loss, which is a most common pattern of bone loss in the periodontal disease. Especially this kind of bone loss we see in case of suprabony pockets. Above the bone, we have already covered in the suprabony pocket. So the previous part we have covered the difference between the infrabony and the suprabony pocket. So the thin plate of the bone covering the furcation area. Next one, we have the vertical bone loss. If the bone loss is vertical, then we call it the vertical bone loss, or you can also say actually in the oblique direction. So suppose these are the teeth. Now what happens when the bone loss is rather in oblique direction? So this is the bone. Earlier bone was like this. Now there is a bone loss like this. So this is we call the vertical bone loss. So the loss of the bone is in a vertical or in a oblique direction. So base of the defect is apical to the surrounding bone. So guys, in case of a horizontal bone loss, this is the most common pattern. We have already covered it, that this is the most common type of bone loss in periodontal disease. So there is a reduced bone height that we see, reduced bone height, because the whole of the height of the bone is reduced and the margins are actually perpendicular to the surface of the tooth. We can say long axis of the tooth, you can see here. So the rate of destruction of facial and interproximal bones are different for this. And if we see the vertical bone loss, guys, based on the number of walls present or remaining, number of walls, always remember this is plus, number of wall present or remaining, we call it 3 wall, 2 wall and 1 wall defect and 1 wall defect. Now let's understand what are these defects. So guys, a 3 wall angular defect, a 3 wall angular defect means, I told you, remember we have to always see positive, always see positive in life. So this is what we are going to do for the defects also. So 3 wall angular defect, that means 3 walls positive, that means 3 walls are present. So 3 walls are present, we can detect it via the probing. Originally an intrabony defect. So the most common in the 3 wall defect we have the intrabony defects, guys. Initially these are the intrabony defects. So base of the vertical defect lies apical to the surrounding bone, and the most common we have is the mesial. This type of defect is found in the mesial aspect of third and second molar, both maxillary and mandibular. Maxillary and mandibular. So 6 and 7, max and man 6 and 7. That too mesial aspect. So M, 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 and molars again M. So you have to remember 3 walls means 3M. Remember 3 walls means 3M. That is the molars, maxillary and mandibulars, maxillary and mandibulars. So this is what you have to remember in the 3-wall defect. Most common, and the third one is the mesial aspect. So first, second and third N. So this is the 3-wall defect. Now talking about the 2-wall defect. So the 2-wall defect means 2 walls are present. So 2 walls are present, and most common is the crater. In this we have the interdental crater. So interdental crater, I told you crater previously in case of reverse architecture. When the buccal and the lingual walls are present, so we are going to take a side structure of the tooth. So the one which is visible right now here is the interproximal surface, right? So guys, this is the interproximal surface. This one is the interproximal, right? Then let's make the root also. So in case of a crater defect, we see the interproximal defect. That means the buccal and the lingual walls are present. So you can see here buccal and lingual wall are present. So 2-wall defect means 2 walls are present. Which all walls are present? The buccal wall is present, the lingual wall is present. Always remember, when we are talking about the wall defects, we are talking about the number of walls remaining, the number of walls present. Be positive. So we will be talking about only the positive part. So that is the buccal and the lingual wall are present. And if you can see here, this type of defect is like a bowl shape or a cup shape, like, right, bowl, like this, a bowl shape. So this is a bowl shape defect or cup shape, we can say. So guys, when we see interproximal bone resorption, so I am going to write minus for resorption. When we see there is an interproximal bone resorption, this is what do we call the interdental crater or the bony crater. And 1/3 of all the osseous defects, so 1/3 of all the bony defect are actually interdental craters, So that will be 35, somewhere around 35.2%. And 2/3 of the mandibular defects are the interdental crater. And in this interdental crater, posteriors are 2 times more commonly affected than the anterior. So the posteriors are more affected, 2 times more affected than the anterior teeth. So this is about the 2-wall defect. So 2-wall defect, we have to remember the interdental crater. So this is the interdental crater, which is a 2-wall defect. Because the interproximal bone loss we see in case of an interdental crater, the 2 walls which are present are the buccal wall as well as the lingual wall. Now coming to the 1-wall defect now. As the name suggests guys, 1-wall defect means only 1 wall is present. Only 1 wall is present. So we have to be detected very carefully. We have to do the probing very carefully, and also we have to evaluate this 1-wall defect with the help of the radiographs. So 1-wall defect, we see the hemiseptum defect. Hemiseptum or the ramp. You can remember 1. So that means divided by 2, if you do, it will become hemi, means half. So septum, heavy, half septum. So you can remember 1, you have to write 1, like septum, interdental septum we know. So cut it into half, you can remember it. 1-wall defect is like a hemiseptum defect. That means the proximal wall guys is present in case of hemiseptum, right. Septum means which is present in between the 2 teeth, which is our proximal. So the proximal wall is present in case of a hemiseptum defect. Either also there can be presence of only buccal wall or only lingual wall. So guys, the 3-wall osseous defect, let's go through once again. The 3-wall osseous defect or 3-wall angular defect is when 3 walls are present. These 3 walls can be buccal mesial distal, lingual mesial distal. So basically one wall is going to be absent, so that is our intra-bony defect, and we can treat it with the help of a GTR or a bone graft. Then talking about the two wall defect, that means two walls are present. Either, there is going to be interproximal bone absent, that is the buccal and the lingual wall present, which is typically our crater. Also guys, see, crater is when the interproximal bone loss is there, but it can be one proximal, one buccal, or it can be one proximal or one lingual defect as well, because we are talking about two walls are present, right? So how do we treat a two wall defect? Now prognosis, as we go from 3 wall to 1 wall, it gets poorer because the number of walls which are missing are increased, right? So in case of a 2 wall defect, guys, we have to do a resective osseous surgery. Also for shallow defect, we can place some bone grafts, and for deep craters, so all the craters which are usually the 2 wall defect, right? So these we can, in the deep craters, we can do the regeneration technique. Now talking about the 1 wall defect, guys, the prognosis is again the poor. We can do the hemisectioning. So this is about the walls defect. Guys, I am going to tell you 0 wall defect also. 0 wall defect. So examples for 0 wall defect are the fenestration and the dehiscence. Fenestration and the dehiscence. If you remember, D for dehiscence and D for door, that means, suppose this is a fenestration tooth. So the fenestration, guys, is going to be a window, right? A window in the bone. So this is the fenestration. On the other hand, dehiscence is like a door. So if this is the tooth, then a dehiscence is like this, a door. So this is the dehiscence. So in case of a fenestration, we call it a window like defect, or a small hole we see in the bone. So the marginal bone, if you can see here in this diagram, is intact in case of a fenestration. But if you can see here in the dehiscence, which is like a door defect, so there are denuded areas through the marginal bone. Through the marginal bone. And 20% of the cases, 20% of the teeth, we see that there are fenestration, presence of fenestration and dehiscence, or we can say the 0 wall defects. So the facial bone is more affected, guys. Facial bone is more affected than the lingual, and anterior are more affected than the posterior. So guys, this is about pattern of bone loss. Trauma from occlusion will cover in the next video. I hope that you have enjoyed the video, and check out the link in the description box below for the notes of this particular video. And if you have enjoyed watching the lecture, then hit on the like button. And guys, you can support us on Paytm as well as on PayPal to make free videos for you guys and to make free notes. So till then, keep reading, keep learning, stay motivated. I'll see you soon in the next video.